The GTA 6 release has been delayed to November 2026. Oh my god, even the BBC are talking about it. And that just goes to show how important this news is, but not only that, just how big of a game GTA 6 has become. Because for 99% of games out there, a delay is just, well, another day in the office, right? But for GTA 6, one of the most highly anticipated games of the modern generation, possibly ever, this changes everything. So today I want to go over exactly what has happened with this delay, the overwhelming reaction in response to this announcement, and how this has all transpired shortly after Rockstar just fired some of its employees. GTA 6 has become the biggest talking point of the week, kicking off November 2025 with a major splash. In a post on X that has accumulated over 100 million views, Rockstar said, Grand Theft Auto 6 will now release on Thursday, November 19th, 2026. We are sorry for adding additional time to what we realize has been a long wait, but these extra months will allow us to finish the game with the level of polish you have come to expect and deserve. We want to thank you again for your patience and support. While the wait is a little longer, we are incredibly excited for players to experience the sprawling state of Leonida and a return to modern-day Vice City. Bear in mind that the first trailer for GTA 6 premiered back on December 4th, 2023, a video that has garnered over 260 million views alone. Some people are even joking about how long the wait has been, saying random things like, I'm gonna be a grandparent by the time it's released, or we'll be getting a PS10 before Rockstar launches the game. The whole insert random thing happened before GTA 6 meme is getting a little out of hand, and it's only going to get worse with this latest delay. This is not the first time that GTA 6's release has been pushed back. In fact, the game was originally scheduled to release back in autumn 2025. Then it was scheduled to release in May 2026, using the same reasoning of trying to live up to the level of quality people deserve. And that in itself was a significant cultural event, causing publishers and developers to push back the release dates of their own games to avoid being overshadowed by Rockstar's biggest title yet. And we can anticipate something very similar happening here. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some games opt for a 2027 release. There are two schools of thought that I have in reaction to this. One is that I'm glad that they are deciding to take the time to polish the game as much as possible. They could just as easily release the game now and rake in the millions and maybe billions in revenue, record-breaking sales, and just cash in on the hype, right? Patch it up later and call in the win early, but they're taking the time to make sure the game is, well, I hope anyway, in the best state possible. People are going to flood in to play the game on day one, and I imagine a ton of issues will arise from that, as is the case with most releases. I'd rather we avoid a Cyberpunk 2077 situation where the game releases as an absolutely broken mess that needs to be patched up further down the line. On the other hand though, the longer this is delayed, the higher the bar is for them to reach. People have been waiting for ages, and if it's been delayed not once but twice in the same year, people will want a game that not only meets expectations but exceeds them. The hype train will continue to build momentum as people anticipate the full release. I wouldn't be surprised if Trailer 3 ends up breaking the internet at this point. While Rockstar's approach to major timeless blockbuster hits like Red Dead Redemption 2 proves that often the wait, while annoying at times, is worth it, it just remains to be seen whether it will be the same again for a game as big as GTA 6. And of course there are worries for the game, such as the fact that it will run on 30 FPS on PS5 and Xbox Series X, which isn't really ideal for a lot of people, especially when so many other titles are able to hit 60 FPS. Most people tend to lean towards performance over fidelity anyway. The game will launch on consoles first, with no updates on whether we will A, get a PC release, and B, when said PC version will come out. And not to mention the oh so popular theory about whether Rockstar will be tempted to charge $100 or more for a standard AAA game, breaking the dam on an industry desperate to squeeze as much cash out of its users as possible. But also, if the game is being delayed once again, within a year of its supposed release, what does that say about the current state of the game and how far along it is in development that they felt it necessary to warrant a second delay? How likely is it that we will be getting a third pushback? And from the looks of things, there may be more going on beneath the surface. The delay announcement couldn't have come at a more complicated time, because this dropped not long after reports started circling about supposed internal issues at Rockstar. Before the internet even had time to react to this delay announcement, the conversation was shifted towards something else entirely. News that Rockstar had reportedly laid off 30 members of staff in the UK. Now, to be brutally honest, that doesn't really sound too major of a story at first glance. After all, in 2025 alone, we've seen thousands of employees laid off across the industry, and entire studios shut down. In retrospect, 30 people being laid off isn't really much of a conversation starter. But what ended up catching people's attention was what came afterwards, a wave of allegations and insider claims that don't exactly paint Rockstar in the best light. Not only that, but also the company's response, denying all the allegations but also being armed with their own wave of accusations, painting two very different narratives. Suddenly the mood surrounding Rockstar shifted, and so too did the news stories. Instead of just discussing release dates and hype, people people began questioning what was really going on behind the scenes. Most of the information gathered surrounding this case comes from Vermillion News' video, which I think does a really good job of breaking down both sides of this story. But to catch people up to speed, on 30th of October 2025, Rockstar Games dismissed over 30 UK staff, and according to Bloomberg, Canada was also affected by these layoffs. The Independent Workers' Union of Great Britain, or IWGB, claims that Rockstar fired the employees due to trade union activity in a quote calculated attack to enact what is President Alex Marshall called the most blatant and ruthless act of union busting in the history of the games industry. The Labour group believes that this was illegal union busting and will be preparing a robust defense for members. It's important to note that Rockstar denies this allegation and state that it was due to gross misconduct, which we'll go over in a moment. Now, this is a very crucial component of IWGB's argument for why it suspects this, and it all has to do with some very peculiar coincidences. IWGB states that all 30 members were part of a union Discord channel. Register reports that this was supposedly used to privately discuss how to improve the workplace, and there were potentially enough people amassed for a union to be recognized. When management allegedly caught wind of this, those involved in the channel were let go. But what's interesting is Rockstar's response to this, shedding more light on what exactly the gross misconduct reasoning entails. Rockstar told Bloomberg that the action followed company investigations that found staff were allegedly leaking company secrets in a forum that included non-employees. A spokesperson said, "Last week we took action against a small number of individuals who were found to be distributing and discussing confidential information in a public forum, a violation of our company policies." It then reiterated that the action was in no way related to clamping down on efforts to join a union or engage in their activities. IWGB responded to the statement, calling it a deflection from what it calls the real reasons for the dismissal, stating that the only non-employees in that channel were union organizers. So if both sides are to be taken for their word, most conflict lies with the Discord server, with one side arguing that this was Rockstar preventing a union from being formed, while the other argued that this was a breach of policy by sharing confidential information. The UK laws have protections and guidelines for unionization. Vermillion News highlighted that the gross misconduct reason could lean more heavily to serious insubordination, which can include breaking company policies. On the other hand, joining a union or acting as a union representative is considered an unfair reason for dismissal, and if considered unfair, Rockstar would have to reinstate their jobs or bring them to a new position, and may also have to pay compensation based on various factors. However, whatever the reasoning behind the layoffs, the Labour group is not backing down, even against a company as large as Rockstar. It went as far as protesting outside Take-Two's offices in London. Furthermore, a fundraising campaign is also underway, which will go towards mounting a legal defense and support campaign costs aimed at pressuring Rockstar. A lot has happened with GTA 6 and Rockstar this past week, and not all of it has been great. I think there are two reasons why this has become such a popular topic. One is that GTA 6 is just such a massive game, right? That any development, no matter how small or minor, is worth talking about, regardless of whether that's a delay or even layoffs at this point. Removing people this late of development is a puzzling choice, right? Because for a lot of games, the busiest times are usually in the final stretch before launch and the content post-release. So it's no surprise that releasing 30 employees a year before release has raised a few eyebrows. And there's been a ton of scrutiny, right, because of Rockstar's history with its workplace culture, especially with all the stories that came out during Red Dead Redemption 2's development. Even so, reports have come out that development for GTA 6 have seen a night and day improvement by comparison. But this story doesn't exactly come out at a great time, especially when Rockstar's aim at this point is to build as much hype for the game as possible. Having said that, I don't think this story is really going to affect the sales of GTA 6. In fact, I don't even think it's going to make a dent. It's going to take something pretty significant in order to take down a giant like GTA 6 down a peg or two. But for everybody else, it's another day in the gaming industry where job security is at an all-time low, and developers are fighting every day for a place in its future, wherever that may lead, especially with recent developments such as the introduction of AI. I think GTA 6 is going to be a game that's going to change the scene forever, but it remains to be seen whether that's for the better or for the worse. But that's all I gotta say on the GTA 6 situation. Two very interesting stories, all things considered. But for now, I gotta go back and watch some of the old GTA 5 and online videos from my childhood in order to satiate my hunger for the game before its release. So I'll catch you next time.